WorldCoin, Aethir, Pengu, and other altcoins have been massively outperforming the wider crypto market over the past few days, and it's obvious why. If you can understand why these coins have been pumping, then you can identify the next altcoins that are also going to see significant upside into the days and weeks ahead. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what's been happening with those coins and which other altcoins to pay attention to. I'm also going to talk about whether or not it's time to clip some profits off the likes of WorldCoin, and whether or not we can see some potentially turbulent times ahead into the next few weeks with that big interest rate decision. Without further ado, hit the like button and let's get into today's video. Now guys, before we dive in and find out which other altcoins are going to be pumping like the WorldCoins and Aethirs, just a quick disclaimer, nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Everything is for entertainment purposes only. If you wish to invest in crypto, you should understand that it's risky and you can lose money. So don't risk money that you can't afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing into anything in the crypto markets. Now that we got that out of the way, let's crack on with it. Now guys, as I look across to my crypto portfolio today, I feel slightly different to how I did when I made my last video just a few days ago on Friday. Around that time, I told you that Ethereum was looking to break out of a Wyckoff accumulation pattern, and it was likely going to push a lot of altcoins along with it. Fairly flat, boring weekend, and all of a sudden, the last 2 days, we have seen a few coins coming out of nowhere, pumping like crazy. And I'm pretty happy as I look across to my crypto portfolio to see a few of the coins in there that I personally hold. Now, if you've been subscribed to the House of Crypto over the past few weeks, months, years even, then you are also more than likely, because obviously you've done your own research and things like that, invested in the likes of Aethir, WorldCoin, Pengu, and you're probably pretty happy about some of the gains that you've seen. Let me know down below if you are holding those coins and if you're now seeing some upside. But you probably, like me, are like, well, why is Aethir, WorldCoin, and Pengu pumping when some of the other coins I'm holding aren't really seeing so much upside, like Humans AI or Sui or Grass? Well, in my opinion, it's actually pretty straightforward, okay? We're going to go and look at what it is that's been driving some of these coins, and using that information, we're going to easily identify which other coins are likely going to see some of that upside as well, okay? But just before we do, let's just jump across to the Bitcoin chart, have a look at the wider crypto market, and see what has been going on. Now, as I look at Bitcoin, I can see in the last 3 days, we have ripped from a whopping $110,000 all the way up $3,000, which is less than 3%, to now being priced at $113. Okay, Bitcoin is now running into an area of resistance, which was previously resistance here, and is there support there. It could potentially start to run up into this zone and maybe see resistance there, or maybe just continue up. Okay, that I will talk about later on when we talk about whether or not it's time to clip profits, whether or not we can see some spectacular sell the news event coming in on around the 16th, 17th, etc. But before we do that, let's just look at Ethereum, which is obviously the altcoin that's been kind of driving the crypto market since back in April, where it's down at like $1,358 and now sits at $4,357. It is bonkers to me to still think that people are still bearish, but you know, I get it. Other people are still holding some of these smaller cap altcoins. They're still down. I also feel the pain on that. Now, in my opinion, Ethereum is due to break out of this particular trend line here. As I put it down to a 4 hour, you can see it's just had a little attempt there, still struggling, but eventually could well break. And I do think a break here does go to retest all-time highs in potentially a very short space of time. But actually, what's got people really excited right now isn't that Bitcoin's been pumping, or that Ethereum has been pumping, or that even Solana's now bounced up to $220, but it's actually due to the fact that the Bitcoin dominance is looking a little bit weak. This is back in 2021, where we had lots of chop around. All of a sudden, it rips towards the downside. During this choppy area here, you had like Ethereum and some of the other large caps looking quite strong, and then kind of a mini kind of run into the first altcoin season. Then that kind of like stalled out and then kind of had continuation there. I still think that there is a potential for more chop around here for the Bitcoin dominance, but in my opinion, we're not going back up here. We are eventually going to end up down here, and that will come into a little bit of what I talk about later on. But here's another reason why people are getting a little bit excited. This is the others chart, which is the altcoin market outside of the top 10. And as you can see here, we have an ascending triangle, which is a pretty bullish pattern, ultimately because it means that the price is getting bought up every single time it goes lower, but not as low each time, and then it's getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed into this area. As you can see right now, we are on the verge of breaking out here. A breakout here could push the others rapidly up towards this, and that would see a lot of hype and excitement return to the altcoins in the very short term. Things are looking positive in the short term, but still maybe need to be cautious with that. And I'll talk about that slightly later on. So coming back across, what's been going on with WorldCoin, what's been going on with Aethir, what's been going on with Pengu. Now, these are 3 different coins, and by the way, and I know other coins have been pumping as well, okay? It's just these ones have been kind of like catching my eye. And they're all different, right? Pengu is a meme coin. Aethir is like an AI deep-in crossover project. WorldCoin is like an AI kind of deep-in crossover as well, in some way or another. And they've all been having good, strong runs. So what do they all have in common? Well, to the untrained eye, you might say, well, WorldCoin's been pumping because the 8Co company has gone 3,000% up after unveiling WorldCoin treasury strategy. It's kind of doing what you can see Michael Saylor doing with Bitcoin for WorldCoin. This is obviously incredibly bullish for WorldCoin, okay? But ultimately, it's only really happening for one main reason. They would only go and make that massive investment because of one thing. Shout it out to me. What is it? Adoption. Okay, adoption is the key here. The same detail, if we go across to what's happening on Aethir, I can go across to Twitter, and I can say by building a strong foundation in the deep in space, Aethir is growing, blah, blah, blah. If you go and read what's written down here, the market is starting to realize that Aethir is driven by fundamentals. And if you go across to the Aethir GPU dashboard, you can see the revenue sits at $155 million, the compute hours delivered at 1.1 million hours, rewards given out to community members, etc. This is all on chain, is very, very bullish. Okay, this is something that is showing adoption here. Now you're like, yeah, but Pengu's a meme coin. It doesn't really have the adoption perhaps of others. Well, go and have a look at the NASCAR. I think it's the NASCAR. But Pudgy Penguins, which is obviously part of the Pengu kind of ecosystem, which are these NFTs, which cost about $40,000 right now, by the way, have now just like sponsored a NASCAR team. They have kind of like different merch toys and things like that. I believe you can buy the toys in Walmart in the US, potentially in other places around the world. This is turning into a potentially massive IP. And that's what's giving it the attention perhaps that people are talking about. Now, WorldCoin, coming back to what WorldCoin is, basically WorldCoin is like proof of humanity. If we think about the rise of AI right now, bots and all these other things like that, it could create scary times in the future. Think about all those videos you've seen of Joe Rogan talking about some random product on Amazon that's clearly not Joe Rogan, but some AI version of Joe Rogan. They're already pretty convincing. Imagine in just the next year or two when you've got people pretending to be you, calling up your parents, demanding money, whatever it might be. You need to have proof of humanity to support the growth of AI. WorldCoin have already scanned the retinas of 15.8 million people. I know people don't like this concept, but it is what it is. It's adoption, it's happening, and this is where I've been identifying the opportunities in the markets. Wherever there is adoption, you will see now money flooding into those spaces. Not only that, they are selling products. They are bringing in different ecosystems and different ways to make money. With that money, what do they want to do? They want to pump their charts like crazy, using news, using market makers around the times when people are still a little bit uncertain. Why? Because they start to drive money into their ecosystems. Their ecosystems blow up. They attract other investors. You get the picture. Because you know what people do as well as I do. They go across to crypto bubbles today and they're like, what's WorldCoin? I don't even know, but I'm going to buy it because it's the biggest green bubble. And obviously, hopefully over being subscribed to the channel over the last few weeks and months, you're not going to do that. Because obviously when you get the big green candles, typically you get kind of like red ones after, and obviously you've kind of missed the boat. But all we need to do is understand that adoption is driving these projects. So only really do we want to invest into projects where we see adoption. Now, in order to find the adoption, you kind of have to look in a variety of different ways. Think about this for a moment. Many crypto projects out there that are actually driving adoption will like to talk about it on their websites. Aethir, good example here. WorldCoin, basically doing the same. Pudgy Penguins, you don't even need to look at the websites. If you just pay attention to kind of the wider world and have a look at what's going on, you can see it. Now, depending on the narrative of the coin you're looking at, or the niche or the niche of the coin, effectively, you have to identify the way to see whether or not you're seeing adoption there. Okay, so let's say for a layer one, for example, we have like the Ethereums, the Solanas, the Suis, the Sais, whatever else it might be. Okay, now when it comes to those layer ones, what we are looking for in terms of adoption is projects building on top of them. We are looking for projects that have basically huge amounts of transactions, that basically have total value locked, as in money kind of being accrued by the ecosystem. Okay, this is a very sure way to find out layer ones that are looking good. Now, quickly, before I kind of push and show you certain layer ones, Solana or Sui or whatever else isn't necessarily better than the other because one has a chart that is going like this while the other might be going like this, okay? Because some of these projects are just choosing the timing at which they want to release their news. This news story from WorldCoin has probably been around for the last couple of weeks or so, but they want to announce it on the time that the market suddenly starts to look more bullish. Okay, you play the cards close to your chest. If you're a project, you don't want to reveal all of your good playing cards straight away when no one's paying attention like they were last Friday, because then it doesn't get the hype and excitement that it deserves. Okay, so a lot of projects out there are still holding those cards that still have good cards to play, and that's what we're trying to do in this video to identify those coins. So going across to DeFi Llama, you can just see basically things to look at. This is total value locked. So for example, on Ethereum, you have various different protocols like Aave, Lido, Eigenlayer, people staking Ethereum, and this is how much money it's worth. So when everyone's like, oh, Ethereum is worthless, no one's using it, $130 billion total value locked on Ethereum right now. It's quite a lot of money. If you come down below, stablecoin market cap, $153 billion in the last 7 days, been traded using Ethereum. Various fees and things paid. All these, so Tether, $21.5 million of fees have been paid in the last 7 days. Circle, 7.5, Aave, 2 point. You get the picture. Okay, so it's actually bringing volume. This is DEX volume trading as well, and you can see from this. Now, Ethereum's already been run up. Okay, we already know Ethereum sits at all-time high. I told you back in sort of April time that it was undervalued. Right now, it's still undervalued. It will still go higher, but I don't see it going significantly bigger than maybe 10K. If it goes to 10K, then happy days if we got in down here, but for me, this isn't necessarily where I want to be looking. If I go back to DeFi Llama, I can go through, I can start to identify some of the other ones that are running strongly. Solana, no surprise, it's doing well as a project because it's gathering different users. Now, obvious ones that I've kind of been paying attention to over the last kind of few weeks, months, etc. I mean, Hyperliquid, I didn't really pay enough attention to this, and obviously it continues to blow up. Hyperliquid will continue to go higher, but it's already seen a lot of excitement. That's probably one of the coins that's probably on the list. That's a decentralized exchange. But I don't want to get into these coins that have already seen a lot of upside because lots of people have already been making lots of money on them. Remember, those people will be looking to take profits as it goes higher and higher. They're going to sell onto you because they've been making more money than you have from being in at the lows. Sui, a very, very strong ecosystem. TVL, or total value locked, sits at like $2.7 billion. The market cap of Sui right now sits at $12.8 billion. Solana in the last bull market reached around $88 billion, which for this is around an 8x. Is it potentially possible that Sui can go and run up to those levels in this bull market? I think the data here gives me confidence to say that it potentially can. If you look at the stablecoin market cap, still sitting very strongly. Okay, so very interesting different ecosystems here. If you want to go for some of the smaller, more undervalued ones, then I would say into the Says and things like that. Okay, Say, incredibly fast chain, again, showing some adoption here. If you go down through, you can see a lot more about the different projects. And go and study some of the projects that are building there. Okay, don't just rush and take my word for it. Go and look for yourself. What I'm teaching you to do on the House of Crypto is always how to understand for yourself what is going on. If you don't go and study it yourself, then you're just aping in. You don't know what happens when we see all this chop over the last few weeks. You panic, you're worried because you don't know what's really happening. Now that's there. Other areas of interest. Just think about it, okay? I think it takes a little bit of logic to really understand. DEXs, decentralized exchanges, are a bit of an obvious place to look. We've seen Binance, MEXC, KuCoin, and other kind of centralized exchanges making tons and tons of money, but they don't tend to have tokens. Apart from Binance, obviously has the Binance Smart Chain token. A lot more people in crypto now are much more educated than they were in the crypto space, and maybe now are starting to choose to trade on DEX over centralized exchange. I personally still use centralized exchanges just because it's way easier. You have way less fees in terms of gas and things like that. If you want to go and use different exchanges to buy the coins that I personally talk about on these videos all the time, with the easiest interface, some of the lowest fees, and most coins available, then I highly recommend that you use Bitunix, link down below in the description, as well as WEEX, and also BloFin, a new one. Between these three exchanges, you will be able to access all the different coins I talk about. They do not require KYC, and you can access them wherever you are in the world, which, as someone who travels all the time, this makes it very easy for me. Also, by signing up to those exchanges, you can be able to access some of the most exclusive bonuses across crypto, because I've been working with those exchanges probably longer than anyone else in the space. Okay, so that's like layer one ecosystems, and also DeFi products. DeFi products can be found down below. Okay, decentralized finance. If you are thinking about deep in projects or decentralized physical infrastructure networks, this is another area that really kind of catches my eye and interests me. Now, For finding that, you would need to go across to CoinMarketCap, and you can go down through and you can go in studies, and you can go up to here where it says cryptocurrencies, click on categories, and then you're going to get a list of all these different ones here. Deepin, Aethir is a Deepin project, okay? Decentralized physical infrastructure networks. Effectively what it does is it takes like kind of centralized services and things like that, and it moves them out into a decentralized manner so that you can have decentralized contributors globally. This tends to massively reduce costs and improve uptime. But again, coming down the list, you see lots of different ones. Walrus, part of the Sui ecosystem, part of the data ecosystem that Sui is building on top of, and really building out that whole full stack of Web 2.0. Lots of other layer 1s out there. Sui is a layer 1, but you actually need a full stack of different products to be able to deliver the future of the internet. That's what kind of excites me about what's happening in Sui. If you want me to make a video about Sui and the Sui ecosystem in more detail, let me know down below in the comments, and I will bring that to you very soon. Now, obviously, you can go through this list, and there's probably lots that I'm going to miss off, but one I really want to talk about, because it's one that I've been holding for a while and has not necessarily been performing as well as maybe other people think it might, and that is Grass. Now, Grass is in the data space, and as someone who's also building a project in the data space called Perceptron, which will be launching incredibly soon. Now, there's a problem in AI. AI requires lots of compute power, which is what Aethir provides, and it requires lots of data, which is what Grass has been providing, and my project will also provide in a different manner to how Grass is doing it to overcome some of the issues that are being faced with some of these more traditional data scraping companies. Now, this is an incredibly lucrative space because a lot of data right now is trapped behind paywalls on Reddit, Twitter, etc., costing like $60 to $100 million a year to the likes of OpenAI who want to use it. So if you want to go and access data to build your new AI project, it's very difficult. Grass, however, has been starting to provide lots of data to various AI companies by having a decentralized node network where individuals like yourself can share bandwidth with the network. Okay, this allows them to use all these different computers to gather the data, okay, and then sell it. And I will make a video about my project in more detail so that you understand this just as well as I do in just the next few weeks. But anyway, long story short, what do I know? I've read a report recently from a VC into Grass. Grass has a revenue right now around $70 million per year, which is absolutely bonkers. And it's believable because as a project owner who is also creating a project right now that is already delivering to paying clients, I understand how quickly that revenue growth is coming in. And I believe that Grass being around for a year has allowed them to accrue this huge value. Now, what gets me more excited is unlike the likes of Aethir, WorldCoin, etc., Grass has a chart that looks like this. To the average untrained eye, you're going to be like, oh, that looks horrible. I don't like the look of it. Well, actually, this is what I like the look of, okay? Because as you can see, it's been going down, but as you can see, this is now turned into a rounded base. And what we're starting to see is the very first signs right now of that rounded base heading back towards the upside. Now, this obviously is a little bit of a risky time into coins like this, because if we get further kind of ups and downs in the market, then maybe there's danger that we start to head a little bit lower. But personally, I've been buying Grass and any project really that is down in kind of like low areas. I hold Aethirs, I hold WorldCoins, okay, but I'm not going to enter into projects that have already seen 100% pumps on a day, 200% dumps over the last couple of days, okay? It's just not what I do. Taught myself not to do it. So AI deep-in crossovers that are generating revenue, that have reports about them and things like that, pretty straightforward in my opinion, okay? Now, other projects out there, I've already talked about DEXs, decentralized exchanges. This is Airdrop, which is a DEX on base, starting to build up. But as you can see, despite this kind of recent pullback, it's still kind of on the higher side of life. Will it continue higher? Absolutely. Most of the crypto market will. But identifying projects like this that we've been talking about all the time down here that then go and do this in like a day or two is what we're about, okay? I just want to show you kind of an array of different projects and why some are running well, some aren't running so well yet. Just to give you the kind of idea as to why Aethir's done this, but perhaps Grass is only just doing this, is simply because, in my opinion, Aethir has decided right now that it's time to start pushing their news narratives, the good positive news they've got, as well as starting to build the chart, bringing money back in to buy up the bottom. If you believe in your own project, wouldn't you buy as much of your coin as possible as the market is starting to head towards greedy times once more? just kind of speculating on what I think is really driving these crypto markets for many of these different coins. Now, again, think about gaming, think about games that people are actively using, okay? If a game is being actively used and it's got like a 10 mil market cap, but is generating revenue every single day, like I know My Lovely Planet, a coin that I've been invested in for a long time. I know the game right now, they've got over $1,000 to $2,000 of revenue every day. It's like a Candy Crush style game. Market cap's down at like 11 mil, which is pretty low for a coin of this kind of level. Now you can see, again, starting to kind of like round off into this. Makes sense to me as to why this is likely going to see some strong upside into the future, but obviously nothing is guaranteed. Go and do your own research into all of these different projects. Now, would I be taking profits on any of the coins that I've been talking about right now? Personally, no. Okay, I'm not trying to win from day to day on what's happening in the crypto market. My aim is to sell when the market's euphoric, when everyone is screaming for higher. Most people are expecting that we have a sudden massive collapse in the next week or two. Everyone's waiting for the market to go lower. That's not really a time that I want to take profits, especially when you've got the Bitcoin dominance here. Okay, this is what I believe the Bitcoin dominance is going to do. If you look back to 2021, the same sort of thing. Okay, I don't know whether that happens this week. I don't know whether it happens next month, but that's not really my job. Okay, my job is just to know my best chances here are to just hold and wait for significantly higher prices. And we get significantly higher prices in alts, in my opinion, if the Bitcoin dominance, or when the Bitcoin dominance comes down to here. And guess what? The Bitcoin dominance will come down to here, like it always does. As we start to see rate cuts coming in, we start to see the market getting more confident, more degenerate, etc. Now, obviously this video went on for a long time and your heads are probably about to explode. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another video tomorrow where I'm going to talk to you about whether or not we should be selling the news going into those rate cuts. Are the rate cuts going to shake the market? Are we really going to see Bitcoin dumping down back to 100K? Will the altcoins get absolutely smashed if that happens again? I know everyone's been suffering from PTSD from the market over the past year or so. I'm going to break it down in much more detail on tomorrow's video. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed today's video and you found it useful, hit the like button, subscribe. If you found it complicated, but you think it was interesting, just watch it again. Why not? Share it with your friends and family, anyone you think might find it useful. Thank you so much. Go and give me a follow over on Twitter as well, and make sure you join that Twitter space tonight so that you know exactly what's going to go on with Perceptron Network. Guys, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye-bye.